Half a day, good evening, and welcome to Harvest Baptist Church Community Group, and it is our sixth night together. My name is Pastor Yo Shirado, over a Japanese ministry here at Harvest, and the topic that I was given to talk about tonight is love one another. It's one of those one another words, the commands in the New Testament. And this is the second of the helpful path of one another that we should practice. But actually, this love one another is the key or the central or the base for all the other love one another. When we talk about love, especially in English language, we use the word love for many variety of things, almost overuse to the point where we lost its meaning. I love God. I love my wife. I love steak, beef steak especially. I love going spearfishing. I love practice martial arts, etc. But they all mean this, differently. Cannot be the same way. Fortunately, in Greek language, there are 4 different words, all translated love in English. But I think it is helpful for us to go through these 4 words just briefly to sort things out so that we can better understand what this command, love one another, mean to us and how it can flesh out in our daily lives. The first word is, I'm not going to pronounce it for you because it doesn't sound very nice, but it means passion for pleasure. Passion for pleasure. This is when you say, I love steak. That is, you love to eat for your pleasure, primarily. And, just the other day, we had a monthly steak day, a beef day at our house, and I made sure the right cut is prepared at the right temperature, and I made sure the charcoal is fired up to the right temperature, and make sure the crust on the surface is just right, and all the juices inside, the internal temperature is just right. On the surface, it looked like I care so much about the beef. But, of course, ultimately, I care so much about the well-being of the beef for my pleasure. And nothing is wrong in itself, but it is terribly wrong, especially when it's directed toward another human being. When a boy says, oh, she is cute, or a girl can say, oh, he is cute. Well, that sounds innocent enough. But when that affection, the attraction, is not checked by biblical word, which we're going to look at today, agape love, divine, unconditional love. If it is not conditioned or checked by agape love, it can quickly grow into lust or inordinate desire to take advantage over somebody else in order for you to take pleasure. That is selfish. That is immature and very superficial, to say the least. And the second word is family love, or natural affection, as King James translates it. This is unconditional. A baby hasn't done anything to deserve parents' love. It is unconditional, and it can be mutual affection between parents and children. It happens intuitively. I don't remember the moment I began loving my parents. And I often hear parents say, I love the baby who is not even born. It is intuitive, it is unconditional, and it is a beautiful thing. I think it is a God-given gift to have this family, natural affection. Because it is intuitive, it cannot be commanded. It just happens. So this cannot be the kind of love that Bible is talking about when it says love one another, even though, in a sense, of course, we Christians are a family of God. And this kind of love, this natural affection, can disappear or dissipate or be distorted if it is not based on agape love, unconditional divine love, God-given love because of sin. Romans 1:31 and 2 Timothy 3, chapter 3, verse 3, talks about the end time, those sinful people forsaking the natural love. They become a lack of natural affection. And the Bible, the God says, even if a mother could forget about her infant, I will not forsake you. And so it is possible for this family love to be distorted. A parent can make an idol out of their children, or children can quickly disappointed at their parents and lose this natural affection eventually after teenage or when they become adult. And that is a really sad picture, but that is possible. And then third word is mutual affection. Mutual affection. This is philia love. Philia love. The noun form of this word, philos, means friend. So basically means friendship. It is a mutual attraction, appreciation between friends, which is a beautiful thing, just like David and Jonathan had in the Old Testament. The love for family members. Now, it is used in a negative way when Jesus talked about unless you love me more than your father, mother, brother, sister, or even your own life, you cannot be my disciples. Or Jesus accused of Pharisees for loving for their possession or position, love and obsession for the recognition. And in John 12:25, Jesus says that if you love your life, you will lose it. And James chapter 4, verse 4, very strong word says, if you are a friend with the world, that word is philia. If you're a friend with the world, you are an enemy of God. You're making yourself an enemy of God. But it is not all negative. It is a beautiful term. Mutual affection between Jesus and his followers, or divine affection between Father and the Son. The Father and the Son have genuine mutual affection for one another, and God's affection for believers, just like Jesus has for his followers. This is a word that is most widely used in the New Testament, often appears in combination with different words. For example, philosophia is a philosophy, love of wisdom, or Philadelphia, love of brothers, brotherly love. It is widely used, and it all depends on what is the object and whether it is in the way of loving God or not. Whether this word become a virtue to us or it can become hindrance to us. And again, this word, mutual affection, the philia love, cannot be commanded because it is an affection that you are attracted to some quality of the person. It is mutual. It is not one way. It is mutual, and it is a beautiful thing. But this is not the word that we are commanded to practice, to have a mutual affection, although that is ideal. The word that we'd like to focus on tonight is agape love. You might have heard this word. This is the sacrificial love that John talks about. Jesus talks about. There's no greater love man has than laying down his life for his friend in John 15:13. Or on the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talked about the unconditional love for your enemies. There's no virtue in loving someone who loves you. Even the publicans do that. So it is unconditional love, whether the person deserves to be loved or not. Most people would say, I will love if someone loves me. Well, we are to create that condition. If someone says, if someone loves me, then I will love back. We initiate that and create that condition for that person to love by loving that person first. And no expectation to be loved back. And this is the kind of love that Jesus demonstrated when he laid down his life for us. And even when we were sinners and we were enemies of God, God demonstrated his love by giving his Son, Jesus Christ. And that leads us to next point, giving love. This agape love is a giving love. John 3:16, for God so loved the world. And what did he do? That he gave. And this kind of love, this agape love, drives to action. You cannot be a stagnant or dormant when you have this love. It is you are driven to give and seek the best of others. And agape love, most importantly, this is a divine love. 1 John 4:16 says, so we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. God is love. And whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. And on the flip side, verse 8 says, anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. So if we are born of God, if we belong to God, then we ought to love God. And this is the kind of love that is commanded and expected of us. It is commanded in 1 Peter 1:22. Love one another earnestly from a pure heart. We should love one another, 1 John 3:11. This is his commandment, that we love one another. And 1 John 4:7, beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. So you see, we are commanded to love one another as God loves, because we are born of God. Just like God says, be holy, for I am holy, in 1 Peter 1:15. This is citing from Leviticus chapter 11, verse 44. God is telling the Israelite whom he just delivered out of Egypt. And now you no longer belong to the world, but you belong to me. You are my people. Since you are my people and I am holy, be holy. So his command had a basis on who he is. We are commanded to love one another. It is based on who he is, because we are identified with God through Jesus Christ, and we are to manifest who he is by loving one another. So what does this agape love look like? Well, actually we know exactly what it looks like. Because Matthew 22:39, this is the second greatest commandment. in Jesus' summary of the entire commands. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And so let me rephrase it. You shall agape your neighbor as you agape yourself. Now I know that agape is a noun form, it's not a verb form, but for the sake of simplicity, you agape yourself, and you know how you love yourself. If you know how you love yourself, you should know what it looks like to love one another. How do you agape yourself? When you wake up in the morning and say you're thirsty, without even thinking, you would seek to drink the water and whatever is necessary to make you comfortable and seek what is best for you at that time effortlessly. You don't have to wonder, now, he says he's thirsty, but I wonder what he wants and how soon he wants. Can he wait a little bit? You don't think about those things. You just immediately go to the refrigerator and take out your favorite drink as much as you want and meet your needs. So when you see someone, you can initiate. You can initiate if there is something you can meet the person's need. You can do to meet that person's need. You don't have to ask if he wants it or not. You can provide. You can initiate that. And you can, as you would do to yourself, you would want to provide what is best for that person. In Matthew 7:12, Jesus, this golden rule that he states, so whatever you wish that others would do unto you, do also to them. And so think about how you like to be treated by others. How would you like people to treat you? Think about business. If there are two businesses, one business only thinks about how much he can get away from the customer, get out of customers, how much he can accumulate the wealth and make their business bigger by sacrificing customers. And the other business is concerned about the well-being of the customer and imagine himself being the customer at his own store and treat the customer the way he would want to be treated. Which business would be most likely to succeed? Most likely the one who treat others as like to be treated. So, what does this look like? If we practice this love, agape love to one another, if we sacrificially, unconditionally love one another like we love ourselves and treat one another as we like to be treated by others, what would this community look like? What would this island look like? How would you be driving on the street if you love one another in this way? I'm not going to take time to go through this. This is for you to discuss in your community group. But I'd like you to open to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4 through 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4 through 8. This is a famous passage on love. It says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. Love is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. Love is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. Well, we are commanded to stir up one another to love in this way, agape love. Please, after you watching this video, I would encourage you to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and take 3 or 4 characteristics of this agape love and discuss in very specific ways, in practical ways, what does, for example, being patient and kind. What does that look like if we are loving one another as we love ourselves, or treating one another as we like to be treated? What does being not irritable or resentful, what does that look like if you are loving one another in agape way, that the sacrificial, unconditional way to those who are not deserving necessarily of your love? And so this is the lesson that I have tonight. I would encourage you to stir up one another to love. Have a good night.